Imagine putting your 9-year-old daughter to bed, and that's the last time you ever see her alive. No screaming, no signs of forced entry, just silence. And within 6 days, that silence would lead to one of the most disturbing discoveries in Missouri history, one hidden deep inside a cave. Authorities initially suspected that Rowan Ford might have simply wandered off, forgone to stay at a friend's house. But behind the calm voices, there was panic, because something about this case felt different. The people closest to Rowan, the ones who should have protected her, suddenly weren't just being questioned, they were becoming the suspects. This is the chilling story of Rowan Ford and how her final night exposed a darkness no one saw coming. November 3rd, 2007 started out like any other Saturday in the quiet little town of Stella, Missouri, a place so small you could blink and drive through it. Rowan Ford was just 9 years old, 4th grade, full of energy, a kid everyone described as kind, bright, and always smiling. She went to bed like every normal night before it. She didn't know that just hours later, she was going to disappear forever. Her mother, Colleen, woke up the next morning with a feeling that something was off. Rowan wasn't in her bedroom. At first, maybe she thought Rowan had gone to a friend's house nearby, but then reality landed like a punch. Her 9-year-old daughter was gone. The police were called. The FBI joined in. A massive search unfolded across the town. Volunteers, neighbors, relatives, cars lined up. Bring Rowan home signs were put up within hours. But as investigators went deeper, things didn't add up. No broken windows, no sign of forced entry, nothing stolen. This wasn't a kidnapping from outside. Whatever happened started inside the house. And what they would find 6 days later proved it. But that wasn't the full story, because someone already knew more than they were saying. 6 days passed without a single sign of Rowan, until searchers discovered something in a cave in rural McDonald County, Missouri, a place hidden off the road, the kind of spot no one would find unless they already knew it existed. Rowan's body was found inside, covered with leaves and debris. She was nude from the waist down, wearing only one sock. Forensic examiners reported a ligature mark around her neck and injuries that confirmed the unthinkable. Rowan had been sexually assaulted and strangled. The community went silent. The FBI called it a horrific crime scene. Rumors spread like wildfire. Parents held their children tight. Everyone wanted answers. But the real shock was coming next, because investigators were about to find out the killer wasn't a stranger. It was someone Rowan knew, someone she trusted, someone she called Uncle Chris. Within days, suspicions focused on 2 people: David Spears, Rowan's stepfather, and Christopher Leroy Collings, his friend and a former house guest. And the moment police looked at their behavior after Rowan disappeared, alarm bells rang instantly. David Spears was oddly calm. He didn't show normal panic. He gave confusing statements about where Rowan might be. He even suggested she might be at a friend's house, something authorities found hard to believe. Meanwhile, they learned that Collings, a 32-year-old man, had lived in the Ford home just weeks earlier, and Rowan liked him, trusted him, called him Uncle Chris. He slept in a basement for months, then suddenly moved out right before Rowan vanished. Police dug into their lives, and that's when investigators discovered both men had something to hide. And soon, both men confessed. But their confessions didn't match. One claimed he was the real killer. The other said he only helped hide the body. But there was one thing both men agreed on. Rowan never should have seen their faces that night. And soon, one confession would seal a death sentence. According to Collings' taped confession, he and Spears had been drinking heavily that night. Afterwards, Collings allegedly took Rowan from her home and brought her to his trailer. That's where the darkest moment began. Collings claims he assaulted her, and when Rowan looked at him, realizing who he was, he said he freaked out. He grabbed a rope from an old pickup truck, referred to as chicken house rope, looped it around her neck, and ended her life. He claims Spears helped dispose of her body. Spears supposedly led authorities to the cave. But here's the twist. Spears later told a different version. He said Collings acted alone, that he didn't know the full truth until after Rowan was gone. He backed away from much of what he had confessed earlier. And suddenly, the court system had a dilemma. Were both men guilty of murder, or was one ready to betray the other to save himself? What happened next changed everything.
After his 2012 death sentence, Collings began filing appeal after appeal, pushing the legal system to the limit. His lawyers argued that he suffered from severe mental disorders, disorganized dissociative attachment disorder, and intermittent explosive disorder. They painted his childhood as traumatic and unstable, a factor they believed should spare his life. But the courts rejected every appeal. In 2014, the Missouri Supreme Court refused his request. In 2018, denied again. In 2022, a federal court dismissed another appeal. In 2023, the Eighth Circuit rejected an additional one. Finally, April 1st, 2024, the U.S. Supreme Court rejected his last hope. 4 days later, Missouri's Attorney General asked for a death warrant. The clock began to tick. In August 2024, the execution date was set for December 3rd. Collings would become the fourth person in Missouri executed that year, and one of the final ones in the country for 2024. Civil groups begged the governor for mercy. Catholic groups urged clemency. Some said capital punishment violated the dignity of human life. But Missouri's governor responded clearly. No clemency. The execution would move forward. And now, after 17 years, the end was finally here. December 3rd, 2024, Eastern Reception Diagnostic and Correctional Center, Missouri. Christopher Leroy Collings was 49 years old. He was given a final meal: bacon cheeseburger, breaded mushrooms, tater tots, and a chef's salad. He was escorted to the chamber. Witnesses watched silently. 6:10 p.m., Collings received a single dose of pentobarbital. Right before it hit, he spoke his final words, reportedly expressing remorse and apologizing for the pain he caused. Within minutes, he was pronounced dead. He became the 23rd person executed in the United States in 2024. And with his death, Missouri now had 8 people left on death row. But the most powerful voice that day didn't come from Collings. It came from Rowan's sister. Rowan's older sister, Ariane, who was 18 when Rowan died, said her sister was a ray of sunshine, the youngest of 5 siblings. Losing her was like losing the light in the house. When asked about the execution, she said Collings deserved worse than lethal injection. She admitted, even after all these years, the pain didn't disappear. No court ruling, no verdict, no execution could bring her sister back. Justice had been served, yes, but healing was still far away. Rowan Ford was only 9 years old. She didn't walk into danger. Danger walked into her home. And that's the most terrifying part. She trusted the people around her, but one of them used that trust against her. Sometimes justice is clear, and sometimes it only feels like closure. Collings was executed, yes, but did that fix anything? Did that erase the fear? Or did it just end a story everyone wished never existed in the first place? Maybe justice isn't about closure. Maybe it's about making sure no one ever forgets. Because the real question is, did justice truly win, or did it simply stop the clock?